Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita Sibidi. Now, in our first story, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says persons found to be complicit in the Ejura disturbances and subsequent killing of 2 people will not be shielded. Speaking during the submission of a report on the incident by the Justice George Kumson Committee, he stated the findings of the committee will help resolve conflicting stories and above all contribute to better security for the country.
Ayawasi was regrettable. We have dealt with it, and we are continuing to see how much we deal with it. And I can assure you that this committee's report would be taken seriously, and there is no chance that anybody would be listened. At the same time, the law says that you are presumed innocent until you are proven guilty. The problem is that anybody who had any lack of confidence in him didn't have a basis for that. I cannot do anything about idiosyncrasies and prejudices. I cannot do anything about that. And this is a country that's a free country, and people are entitled to their opinions. I'll respect them. But before a committee has worked, you already don't have confidence, it's premature. There's no basis for that. But can I prevent people from having those views? No. But I think that any misconceptions, and that's why I told you that there were conflicting stories and versions. After I studied the report, we would come out or whatever. For instance, I met somebody who asked me those days that the committee asked a question and they were supposed to ask another question, they didn't ask a question. And I find it to be funny because the committee is looking, it's a fact-finding committee, and I've been a lawyer for several years. The way I question, I would ask you a question, I know what I want from it. When a committee has been set up without more, and then you start criticizing. No, I don't think that was wrong. That was right. We will study the report, and I've told you that at the appropriate time, the report will be published for all of us to read and have our own impression.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the committee, Justice George Kingsley Kumson, in a response to the public backlash for its line of questioning of some journalists who appeared, said the committee did not accuse the media of fueling the disturbances.
We knew that it was an important but delicate assignment with a huge national expectation. We can assure you that we equally attached serious importance to it and dedicated ourselves to all issues with meticulous attention and detail. Having assured ourselves that after listening to 22 witnesses and reviewed volumes of documents, audios and videos, we have come with our findings and proffered some recommendations. These we present to you today in the hope that the government, through your good self, will give a good ear to them and try to accept and implement them.
You know, our work was to ascertain the facts and make recommendations. In this digital age, we all know that anything can be manipulated. So if, let's say, the regional minister tendered a video, he was asked, Honorable, this video, has it been altered? The answer was no. The media man also comes, he's asked the same question, do you think your video has been doctored? And he says no. I do not understand why somebody will have to construe such a question as trying to accuse the media of something wrong. No, we had no such intention. So people should discard that from their mind. We were doing our work. We were entitled to ask questions, and the question was a fair question. So we had no intention of accusing the.
What do you make of assertions out there that?
Away from that, the Privileges Committee of Parliament has set August 5 for its public hearing to contempt charges brought against a Central Member of Parliament, Kennedy Ejura. Now, Tamale North MP Hassan Suhini, who is the petitioner, is expected to be the first witness, after which Mr. Adepong will appear. NDC MP for Sagnaruru, ABA Fuseni, who is a member of the committee, however, says he and his minority colleagues boycotted the meeting because the chairman rejected the proposal for an in-person meeting. He says they therefore do not recognize the outcome of the meeting.
Chairman of the committee, the Honorable First Deputy Speaker, insisted that the committee meets virtual, via Zoom. And this was the maiden meeting of the committee. And we indicated respectfully that being the maiden meeting of the committee, it was proper that members met physically to know each other, have a camaraderie at the meeting, and be able to exchange pleasantries and contacts, so many things, and build the ground necessary for us to look at the issues before the committee. And in fact, to the best of my understanding, majority of the members, even I hear, including even from his side, indicated that they wanted a face-to-face personal meeting. But the First Deputy Speaker, respectfully, I personally have a lot of respect for him. And our people say that when an elder is in the house, the grain will not be soaked by the rain. He will use his collective experience and wisdom to salvage the situation. Unfortunately, he failed us woefully on this occasion by not using his expertise and the experience in this house to know that no committee can work solo and succeed. It's not possible. It is through the cooperation of all members across the divide that you can really chalk significant successes on the committee. Unfortunately, the First Deputy Speaker is failing us on this matter by going ahead with that meeting. So the committee did not meet this morning. They can't fix. Nobody can unilaterally fix, because I'm sure you know that in a committee you have a chairman and a ranking member. Both constitute the leadership of that committee. It is not the chairman who constitutes the leadership of a committee. The chairman is only part of the leadership of a committee. So he cannot solo on his own fix any date.
So the upper west now, where the regional minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Salah, says commercial flights will soon resume operations at the Wa airport following the dismantling of a mast that was located on the flight path. Though he failed to give timelines on the resumption of the operations, he stated many airlines have expressed lots of interest in the Wa Accra route, and he was well convinced that it wouldn't be long. Transport Minister Kwekufo Asiama, a couple of months ago, directed that the must be pulled down to pave the way for commercial flights to resume operations in the region. The halting of commercial flights at the Wa airport in March 2020 impacted negatively on the economic fortunes of the people. Rafiq Salam reports from there.
One of the challenges that came to the attention of Transport Minister Kwekufo Asiama during his one-day official tour of the Wa airport a couple of months ago was the sighting of this Vodafone telecommunication mast, which flight operator says was directly located on the path of the flight. As a result of that, pilots flying into or out of the airport go through arduous times to meander their way in or out of the airport. Africa World Airlines started commercial operations at the airport in October 2019 following its renovation and later halted in March 2020.
The planes will come. We are not going to allow the mast to be a standing block on our way. The planes must come and they will come. The only condition is that mast must be out of the flying path. And we are giving them the opportunity. If they don't do so, I think it's our response, like I said, to remove it ourselves.
Our cameras some few weeks ago spotted riggers on top of the mast busily attempting to dismantle it. We however returned to the site today and found no mast. Only few auxiliary equipment could be spotted on. It is not only the Vodafone telecommunication mast that is lying on the flight path. Closer to the airport and about 80 meters away from it, there are several tree species that are also lying on the flight path. Per the instruction of the minister, those trees, numbering about 6, were pulled down. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali stated that with the dismantling of the mast, he has quickly formally written to all the major stakeholders and is hopeful that commercial flights will soon resume operations at the airport.
Written to the minister, I have copied the Ghana airport company as well as Africa World Airline because they were operating from the airport. So I've written to them as well. As to when they will start, I will not be able to tell. Once we write to them and I get in contact with them, then I'll be able to tell when they will resume. But I believe strongly that it will be sooner than later because they are also determined to start operations. You will realize that when the Minister for Transport came here, he indicated that indeed the management of Africa World told him that the WOW route was one of their lucrative routes. So they are business people. They will want to start operations so that they can make money.
Though the commercial flights are yet to resume operations, Dr. Bin Sali is already talking about the benefit that the people of the region will derive from it.
The Upper West has been chosen as the venue for the next Northern Ghana Development Summit. And with the summit, we intend inviting top government officials as well as foreign envoys, ambassadors of different countries that are in the country for them to attend. Most of them would want to come by air. So if commercial flights become operational, if they start coming to the Upper West, it will make it much more easier for us to organize these sort of things. So it's the beginning of good things to happen. So I am eager for the restart of operation.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
And back here in Accra, for 4 years, a school building sat idle while students of the Osu Presby Boys studied in a dilapidated structure. Now, after a long wait, students of that school have finally been relocated to their new structure. The students could not hide their excitement. Judith Awochetando, who followed the story from the onset, visited the school and now reports.
Avoiding cheating, yes, to prevent accidents.
This is how teaching and learning should look like. For 4 good years, this building sat idle while students slumped in a dilapidated school structure. The story is different now.
Well, you can see for yourself. These students are no longer scorched by the sun. Initially, these boys of the Osu Presby cluster of schools would have to remove their shirts in order to fan themselves as a result of the excessive heat in their previous dilapidated structure. But now things have changed. After constant reportage on the bad nature of their school, these boys have finally been moved into a fully furnished structure.
When we were there, the sun was coming into our class. Then we have heat, no fresh air. So by now when we came here, we have fresh air, we have fans and lights in our class, and we have beautiful washrooms and all those things. When we were there, when there was no social distancing, we were afraid. We were afraid because of the COVID. Maybe someone has it in the class, then it will affect all of us. So we were afraid, but now when we're here, when there was social distancing, we don't have any problem again.
When we were there, some of us, the uniform we wear, the decks always tear the butt of our uniform. But when we are here, we have new decks, and the decks that we have one single. So one person sits on single deck, so we have space on that X too.
Actually, the thing is, because of the potholes, if you are walking, you could have fallen down, so that doesn't make some of the people to pay attention. But now that we are here, when we are learning, everyone pays direct attention to the teacher and what he's saying.
Not only do students share in this joy, teachers as well. Madam Lydia Otre is head mistress of the Osu Presby Boys School.
From the other side, life wasn't easy there. Classes were going on though, but teachers and peoples were not feeling comfortable at all. The heat, the dust, and all other things were not actually helping us. But when we moved here, by the grace of God, we are having a very nice place. Lessons are ongoing. Learners are also enjoying.
The Korle Klotte Youth Alliance has also been pushing for the relocation of the students for a while now. The new development has indeed brought great excitement to them. Niotin Krayankra is executive director of the group.
And we're very much excited that our efforts has not been in vain. We've pushed for it, and today the kids are learning in a very conducive atmosphere. This is all we're all fighting for in Korle Klotte. Our alliance is basically to shape up the constituency or the community to have everything easy for them. And today you can see when you went around, they were all excited. This morning they were happy for their break. They were happy in the classroom. They've had new chairs. They've had everything. So we'll say, well, I thank everybody that puts in their efforts, especially the municipal chief executive.
Although students of the Osu Presby Boys School have been moved into the new building, other students within the cluster still remain in the previous structure. Municipal Chief Executive for the Korle Klotte Municipality, Ni Ejura, who spearheaded the movement, however told JoyNews that more work needed to be done, like the provision of potable water.
Because there was no water and also at the point no electricity, all these things need to be sorted. And that is what we have done now. So now, once the concrete platform is matured enough for the water to sit on, and I believe that is sometime next week, all the children can move into the school now.
Well, some officials and beneficiaries of the new structure had something to say to JoyNews.
We are grateful to JoyNews. We even saw the pictures you took the other time, and I was shocked. I said, wow, how can a lady climb up a car for our sake? Yes, we are grateful to you. We hope that you continue to do this good work to help all those who are in need.
Indeed, there's a lot to smile and scream about. Judith Chitando, JoyNews.
And that's how we end the AM News. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Mapito CBD.
Oh, hello there. Good morning again. If you're just joining us, well, you missed the news with Mapito CBD. But don't worry, we're here to give you a lot more news, this time in the newspapers and the online portal, myjoyonline.com. Joseph Akable is with me, except that he is virtual. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mama. How are you doing?
Very, very, very well, thank you. How are you?
Not bad. We are grateful for the gift of life once again, so I'm here.
Absolutely. We should be thankful even if there isn't money in the pocket, right?
Well, yes, we are thankful, but we remain hopeful that there will be lots of money and lots of favor and grace to do all the amazing stuff we all want to do.
Hallelujah. So for Joe.
Somebody say amen, amen, amen.
Are you winning souls for Christ, though? Because, you know, you have such a powerful platform, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a great commission. We are all on that path to ensure that we bring as much souls into the house of God and ensure that the world is a better place. I mean, that's my first task, to change people so that the world is a better place. Then their souls will eventually get on to Christ.
Nice.
As well.
We need to be reminding ourselves, because you see, the work is not just for pastors and prophets and people who hold themselves. We're all men and women of God, you know that. So in your own little way, wherever you are, with whatever you do, you've got to put the spotlight on so that it will inspire someone to be good and to get closer to God. So now that we're clear, my son, and we're doing the right thing, let's do the newspapers.
Absolutely.
Tell us the papers you're going through, Joe.
I'll be doing the Ghanaian Times. I also have that of the Finder, the Daily Dispatch, and the BNFT as well.
All right. I will take our viewers through the Daily Graphic, Republic Press. I've got the Custodian, I've got Today newspaper, the Ghanaian did you mention? Okay, no, the Ghanaian Publisher and the Daily Guide newspaper. So what do you say? I start with the Daily Graphic?
Absolutely.
All right, here's what's on the front page of the Graphic this morning. I'm yet to receive dockets on Swale, AG tells Parliament. So the CID of the Ghana Police Service has still not built and presented any dockets on the case involving the murder of Ahmed Swale to the Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Godfrey Yeboadami was in Parliament. We will come back and tell you a lot more of what the things he had to say yesterday. Also, Majority Leader urges bipartisan review of Petroleum Acts. And there's a portion of the Botsiano Red Top Road in the Ga South municipality. I don't know if Joe is familiar with this stretch. It doesn't look like a place in Ga, as in Greater Accra. Not at all. Like, is this a place properly in Ga South in Botsiano?
Yes, it is. In fact, that particular area, it's an area that I know quite well. When you get off the main road, I mean, every other road is not tarred really. So it's really not surprising that they found a road there that is in such terrible condition.
Well, just down there's a reminder, aftermath of rain, sordid state of some roads in Accra. So if we go to page 20, which we will do a bit later on, I guess we will see a lot more of how the rains have rendered the roads. It's not the rains rendering the roads in the kind of state that we find them in. It's just the way the roads are. But the rains kind of expose the states and further opens our eyes, especially those who are expected to fix the issues. But who knows, just in case they refuse and they haven't seen, that's why the media is there. So the Daily Graphic put on the spotlight appropriately on this subject. In the center spread, Ejura committee presents report to minister, adopt appropriate technology to enhance electoral integrity. Speaker urges ECOWAS members. And the Vice President has urged central banks on the continent to position themselves to adopt a digital currency in the advent of digitization. These stories in the center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the back page, the World Food Programme says millions of families in the West and Central Africa regions are going hungry this year as food prices soar. So more than 31 million people in West and Central Africa region are expected to be food insecure and unable to feed themselves during this June to August, the lean season, the period when food is scarce before the next harvest. Not good news at all. The Ghana Health Service has launched the national, this is the, okay, what word is this? More of a medical word. So let me stick to Drug Administration launched to tackle river blindness. You can read details of that story and learn about this medical term and, you know, how this whole condition comes about and what the intention to deal with it is in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Joe?
I'll touch on the Ghanaian Times now. The front page has that story about the Ejura probe report. I will not spare offenders. That is coming from the Interior Minister, who has been assuring as he took a delivery of a report as presented by Justice George Kingsley Kumsin, who chaired that particular committee. Another angle to the story was what we did on 6 a.m. on radio this morning, with the chairman responding to issues about whether the questions that the panel had asked during the probe, the attacks of journalists, whether it was geared at impugning the work that they had done. And he said, if the regional minister comes before you and they ask the question whether the videos he had supplied were edited, if the same question is asked of the journalist, he doesn't think it should lead to the conclusion that it means that they are suggesting that the journalists did not do a good work. And so that's his response there. But some other stories here says, adhere strictly to COVID-19 safety protocols at workplaces. That is coming from the Ghana Employees Association, telling employers and employees. 2 siblings burnt to death at Mushizongo, very sad story. 59-year-old State Secrets Act under review, also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. The back page, Ningo Pram Sea Defense War ready in November. And WFP presents 140 hermetic silos to farmers in northern region is also another story. The center spread now of the Ghanaian Times will not spare offenders is from the Interior Minister, on that Ejura probe story. And there's this other story in the center spread about police impounding 394 motorcycles in Accra Swoop, also in the center spread, Mavi.
All right. Let me follow that up with the Republic Press newspaper. And what we will be dealing with later this morning is on the front page. Asin North MP hot as Supreme Court throws out his application. Also, Kufuor's Olympic Stadium abandoned as project site turns criminal haven. ADB makes strides. Earnings go up by about 80% in first half of 2021. New Fadama cluster of schools gets ICT center and library. On road accidents, 106 people killed in 6 months in Tema alone. And on COVID-19, antigen tests should be made available for Ghanaians to self-test. A call by Dr. Godwin Awandere. Appropriate call there. I have said that because a lot of people would report to the pharmacies for symptoms of malaria and fever and so on. You know, you can keep preaching the message, but you'll have many more people walking into pharmacies. It would be good if the test was available in such places, just as you could do a malaria test real quick. We could also, you know, do this COVID test in these places where we know Ghanaians would rather go than the hospital. On the back page is that story of the director of the West Africa Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, Dr. Gordon Awandare's call, his recommendation that antigen tests to be made much more available in communities and even in the hospitals for rapid screening of patients and people who show up in the hospitals and clinics in the country for testing. And there's a death trap. Paper is putting the spotlight on this. It says students and teachers of at CRV Wanyago MA Primary School in the Kata municipality in the Volta region are in constant fear of crossing a river on a dilapidated wooden footbridge before walking over a kilometer to access a junior high school on a daily basis. A concerned teacher, Mr. Kennedy Hateka, who spoke to the Republic Press, lamented the unavailability of accommodation and electricity in the community, explaining the teachers who teach in the school live in neighboring communities, which is more than a kilometer walk from the school. So apart from that, you'd see the footbridge, and this is what they're expected to cross every day. This is horrible. This is like, this is coming down the next minute. You never know. Joseph, did you see the video of somebody, and this happened in Kumasi, somebody warning, he was taking the video and also admonishing people to be careful and to move slowly on the bridge. And minutes, this is barely, the bridge went down with those walking on it at that particular moment, everybody going down and the water sweeping them away in the process. This is like that video that I saw.
I think the picture, the paper got a caption absolutely right. I mean, death trap, that's what it is. Really.
Wow. Well, again, sometimes we know that leaders are expected to know just so they haven't seen it. The paper is put in the spotlight and we're talking about the subject matter. So we hope that the Assembly would quickly fix this issue. That's it for the Republic Press. Joe, more papers?
Yes, the Finder newspaper now. Digital currency is the way to go in boosting economic growth. Is coming from Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And bossed to pay 9.9 million cedis plus 30% annual interest since 2011 to Husk Oil as judgment debts. And Newmont to invest $850 million into approved Ahafo North projects. NPP Code of Conduct spells out severe sanctions, including expulsion. And still on expulsion issues, the NDC has expelled Koku Anyidoho from the party. And it's led to lots of discussion on social media. I'm sure you've seen people bring back that video of Mr. Mahama when he was president, in that interview with Paul Adomotri of Metro TV, where he said the president, the then NPP candidate, he described him as very intolerant, and that if you disagree with him in his party, you are suspended or sacked from the party. And people have brought it back to make the point that is it a case that he's also equally as intolerant as he had accused the then NPP candidate of being. But Mr. Anido has been tweeting scriptures. I'm sure you've seen it already. He was talking about me, Joseph. And when Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, and they thought that they were taking him away from the dream because of what they had heard about the dream, not knowing they were actually taking him to fulfill his dream.
Yeah.
And so Kokwanido will be prime minister. I know we don't have the prime minister in Ghana, but I guess in the spiritual.
Is that like a revelation?
That's what he said.
Okay, I thought you were saying that these days you've been evangelizing.
My spiritual gifts have not reached there yet.
Okay, all right. Okay, Ayo, I mean, it's time, isn't it? Time will tell.
Yeah. But some other stories on the Finder, quickly on the front page. 110 billion SOEs post 586.4 million losses in 2019. A 10% return on the assets can generate 1 billion cedis and can create more than 700,000 public and civil service jobs. And so there's some analysis that the Finder is doing there about what ought to be the situation if things are handled right. The center spread has that story about a digital currency being the way to go, and also why Ghana needs an indigenous shipping line. It's also in the center spread. I mean, I remember many years ago and we read about it in the history books, the Black Star Line. I mean, we're in 2021 and we are writing articles on why we need an indigenous shipping line. That's how far and back we keep moving. Over to you.
I guess the question is, do we really?
The question for the gods.
Let's do the Today newspaper front page. Fix the country demonstration in danger. August 4th March faces COVID-19 public gathering ban. My former editor Richmond Kielson writes this one, and he says the much touted hashtag Fix the Country demonstration on August 4 faces another jolt of being called off. An impeccable source within the security agencies has hinted at Today newspaper. The source further disclosed that the likely curtailment of the march is not premeditated, but an inevitable decision that is being induced by a force majeure, the scourge in COVID-19 cases, and its related dreadful Delta variant in the country. Another twist to the hashtag Fix the Country demonstration. I guess in the coming hours, this would certainly, I don't know, is this the first time, Joseph, that you're hearing of this? I mean, it occurred to me, but I didn't think that we will come to this.
Absolutely. It's the first time I'm hearing this. And the real irony of this particular development is the fact that when the group intended to embark on the demonstration on May 9, we're told that we are in the COVID era and that they can't demonstrate because it will threaten people and lead to the spread of the virus. And subsequently, the NDC was allowed to stage a protest in this same COVID-19 era. And then we are back to the point of that reference again, if the story from the paper is anything to go by. And so it's a very interesting twist. Of course, the difference really is that the cases are spiking, but the fact of COVID-19 being in existence was never lost on anyone when we decided to allow the NDC to protest. And so, I mean, I'm not sure this is a development that the Fix the Country campaigners will take lightly at all. I mean, they've waited for far too long to want to hit the streets and demonstrate.
Absolutely, of course. So if this is, because it says deep source, and it continues to say that the source who pleaded non-disclosure of identity further disclosed that from the perspective of the security forces, it will be a breach of duty call to allow for the march to go ahead as scheduled within the context of the fresh ban on public gathering. There isn't a fresh ban, is there? There isn't a fresh ban.
No, it's just what's been in place. That has always been enforced.
Oh my God. All right, let me go through the rest of the headlines on the front page of the Today newspaper. Government replies ASEPA over removal of Chief Justice. We'll get into details of that in a bit. MP supports 34 schools with radio sets and others. On the back page, some sports stories. Tokyo Olympics boxer Suleiman Tete defeats Rosa Rodrigo. That's such a big one for us in Ghana. Black Queens on course for 2022. Women's Africa Cup of Nation qualifiers, according to the head coach, Messi Tego Kweko. Details of that. And then Kotoko paid over 10,000 Ghana cedis per match in Obuasi. That's a revelation by its Chief Executive Officer, Nanayao Amponsa. People, even within the management or the board or something, and they not too excited about his management style. Joseph Akable, this is your party. I was hearing some disgruntled voices over the last couple of days. I thought, you guys always said that you are rich, you have this, you have that, you have that. We didn't expect that there would be such noises in your camp. But you're unstable after all.
Really. I mean, it's not noise. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and I think that's the substantive story, is about the works that is ongoing on the Baba Yara Stadium, which is set to be completed soon. I mean, yes, it explains why. So in effect, Kotoko played the whole season without actually playing at its actual home venue.
Massa.
And that accounted for our performances as well. I mean, so we are hoping that Baba Yara will be available eventually and will be able to win.
Also, you're also trying to find excuses. Yes, it's Subai, it's saying insane. Shumutaya. As it is brewing and you people are trying to cover it, we'll see. On that note, let me say good morning to Papa Koakwe. A very good morning to you, sir. Still phobia. He would threaten to put his TV off.
Yeah, you can put it off. We will still be on air anyways.
Let me do the Daily Guide newspaper on the front page. It says, Ejura mayhem, report ready, sack MC, punish soldier. So the thing is, it was presented yesterday. We all don't know what is contained in that report, but some people claim they've got some portions of the report. And that's where this news is coming from, that there is a recommendation for the MC to be sacked and the soldier that led the operation on the ground to also be punished. I think for most of us, our disappointment was the fact that when it comes to the operation itself, the lead person, we didn't see the person appear before the committee to also give testimony. I don't know, Joseph, do you have the report?
No, I have not secured a copy of the report yet, but we look forward to seeing that. I'm surprised that if the headline is anything to go by, how about the regional minister? Because I mean, the MTE's only involvement was just in the local politics of it. The fact that the claim had been that there were some bodyguards of his who may have been involved in the whole fracas with, Kaka that led to his death. But I mean, he has since denied that before the committee, and so I'm not too sure. He himself withdrew his nomination to the process that was leading to selection of new MCs, and so clearly he was not one that was going to be retained anyways. And so, I'm wondering what his connection would be for them to make such a recommendation, and what the recommendation would be with regards to the regional minister who decided to deploy the soldiers and all what we saw happen. Well,
we wait to see. Hopefully we can all lay hands on the report and share with our viewers. Nana attends Education Summit in the UK. UG gets first female VC. ECOWAS Speaker Lord's Government for ICT Development. Let's do the center spread of the paper, which has the News One pullout. An allegation that controversial dancehall artist Shatta Wale had sex with celebrated actress Emilia Brobe was all over social media 2 weeks ago. Was it? I'm not sure I heard this, but hey, if you don't follow, you will not know. So apparently, Emilia Brobe is chasing Shatta Wale's girl over those allegations. Details of that, if you're a Konsa person, then you want to grab and read details of this. Some of us, we will walk up us. So there are some other entertainment stories in the center spread of the paper that you might want to check out if you're interested. That's it for the paper on the back page. Did you target?
I see some Black Sheriff story. It's an important story, Omavi.
Okay, all right. Where's that?
It's the
Black Sheriff rebuked by UPSA lecturer for wearing earrings. Oh, so the newest. Okay, let me just read a bit of it. The newest sensation in Ghana's music industry has been asked to remove his earrings. According to a report, level 100 students of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, the University of Professional Studies, Accra, went to school in earrings, and unfortunately for him, a lecturer saw him. When the lecturer asked why he's in earrings as a man, his friend, who was believed to be recording the incident, tried to tell the lecturer that he is a popular musician. The friend explained to the lecturer that he's a Black Sheriff, the newest sensation in Ghana music, and that the likes of Sarkodie even post him. Hey, this explanation didn't move the lecturer, who insisted he should remove the earrings because even Sarkodie doesn't wear earrings. He also referred him to go and read the school's dressing code. We won't allow it. Go and read. We have a dress code.
There's actually a video. I mean, I saw the video yesterday, and it was very funny, the justification that the friend was giving. I mean, the friend was like, Charlie, this is Black Sheriff. This is Black Sheriff. He's a big guy. I mean, the lecturer was like, oh, really? Yes, eh?
I like the way I said, even Sarkodie post him.
He said, no, but Sarkodie doesn't wear earrings.
Young people of today, when you go to school, do what school rule says you should do, not what you think. If you think you're a celeb, do it in your backyard, not on campus. I like it. All right, that's it for the Daily Guide. You have some more papers?
Yes, I have the Dispatch. The front page of the Dispatch has the story about the Ministry of National Security's new focus, balancing the protection of the state and promoting human rights. Has a photograph of one of the.
That's on paper or that's in practice?
That is in paper, and that is what they are seeking to do in practice as well.
Okay.
Obeda Samo on the challenges of democracy is also on the front page, and Court of Appeal dismisses applications of NDC 2 MPs, and ECOWAS meeting on telecoms and development starts at Winneba, also on the front page. The back page has this story about the Ministry of National Security's new focus, and ECOWAS meeting on telecoms is also on the back page there. Some other story on page 11. I think it's one story that you indicated we'll be paying attention to later on. The Court of Appeal dismissing the applications of Asin North and Jomoro MPs. The Cape Coast High Court is expected to deal with an aspect of one of the cases today, that involving the Asin North MP. And so that is one to look out for. The other page, okay, so those are the main stories from the Daily Dispatch.
Okay. I guess we have to go into details of some of the papers. I did promise to do a bit of what's in the this is Today newspaper on government's response to ASEPA. So this is on page 3. It says the Office of the President says some processes had already commenced prior to being petitioned for the possible removal of the Chief Justice, Kwesi Enini Yeboah, over his alleged role in the $5 million bribery allegation. The response was contained in a letter to the civil society organization, Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, which had petitioned the president to invoke provisions of Article 146 to commence impeachment proceedings against the Chief Justice. And it says the presidency's action will therefore be in line with Article 146. Okay, just wanted to go to the point where the statement signed by Secretary to the President, Nana Asante-Bediye-Tuo, the office said it had officially received the petition and had initiated processes to act on it. Okay, so there's a lot more to that letter on page 3. Joseph, I don't know if you've read this ahead and you know the exact processes. Did they outline what the processes are?
It's actually put together the story for My Joy Online. It's the lead story on My Joy Online. It's led our 6 a.m. bulletin as well, and it explains what the procedure is. And so what happens is that ASEPA had actually petitioned Shraj, and after petitioning Shraj, they also petitioned the presidency. And the point they make in simple terms is that the CJ is not fit to hold office because the allegations that have been leveled against him are of a serious nature that requires that, if for nothing, he ought to step aside and allow the probe to go, because, I mean, his conduct or the allegations against him has affected the reputation of the judiciary. And so that was the basis for that application. And they said constitutional provision that the constitutional process is to explain that My Joy Online story as well, that for such a petition, that is for the removal of the Chief Justice, the President shall, acting in consultation with the Council of State, appoint a committee consisting of 2 justices of the Supreme Court, one of whom shall be appointed chairman by the president, and 3 other persons who are not members of the Council of State, nor members of Parliament, nor lawyers. And this committee will inquire into the petition and recommend to the president whether the Chief Justice ought to be removed from office. And all proceedings under this particular provision will be held in camera. And the CJ will have the option of defending himself, or he can choose to do so through a lawyer or any expert of his choice. And then even before the petition process terminates, the president under the clause 10 has the right to decide to suspend the Chief Justice or not. And so once the petition was sent to the presidency through the secretary of the presidency responded, indicating that they had taken delivery of the petition and that they are informing the petitioner, that is ASEPA, that they have set in motion this particular process already. And so we all look forward to what the outcome will be, but that is it by way of the latest on this particular story.
All right, for the rest of it, go to myjoyonline.com as we're showing you on our page. And Joseph wrote this one. It's on myjoyonline.com. Joe, is there a story that you want to highlight before we go?
I think the Asin North story is very interesting. There is a bit of a development yesterday. You know, they had tried to get some process through at the Supreme Court yesterday to halt what would happen at the High Court today. But the Supreme Court drew the lawyers' attention that they should have made that application actually at the High Court. And once it was refused, they would now refer it to the Supreme Court for interpretation of those provisions. In simple terms, it has to do with this thorny issue of allegiance. At what point can one be said to have renounced his allegiance? Is it when the renunciation certificate comes in, or is it prior when you commence the process? Because the arguments the lawyers are making is that, look, the date for the renunciation certificate may have been after he had filed the documents and gone through the process, but once he had started it, it's a question of fact, and he was no longer a citizen. But the judge will be determining that this morning. And the interesting thing is that when the Supreme Court declined to deal with the matter, and they had to now withdraw it for it to be struck out, a private citizen just yesterday again filed a different process, and that process is simply asking the Supreme Court that, look, you are the Supreme Court, you have the power to interpret such matters. And the interesting thing is that the Supreme Court is actually on vacation, and so what we expect to happen today is that the lawyers will refer the High Court judge to the fact that the process has just been filed, and so he can't proceed. And I guess we all know what the outcome of that will be.
We'll see how that one goes. Joseph, thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the day. We will see you, God willing, tomorrow, yeah?
You too.
All right. That's it for the review segment here on the AM show. Log on to myjoyonline.com where we have plenty of stories, including what we just discussed, the Asin North Member of Parliament's issue, which we will be discussing extensively here on the show this morning. There's also Kokwa Nyidoho, who's been expelled from the party. They say whatever is in his possession, he must produce to the party. There's the Attorney General's updates on the investigations of some murders, and I think significantly is where the Attorney General talks about the Ahmed Swale issue. What is the front page headline in the Daily Graphic newspaper, where he says he's yet to receive dockets on the Swale matter. So you can read the stories for yourselves. Up next, we'll bring you sports. After that, we'll bring you AM business, and then we'll get talking on some of the big issues. Stay with us.
Now, let's take a look at what Shamun Saku has been telling us ahead of the games. His father and elder brother have been competitors at the Olympic Games before, and he says that he wants to continue with the history. But in his dreams, he wants to do better than what his predecessors have done.
Telling all Ghanaians that they should have hope in me. Although my brothers participated at the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, my brother Basi Same won the first fight, but I couldn't, bring back something. So it's like a big task for me. I mean, I have to make a good name for both my family and Ghana. I mean, it's like a war, and I'm going all out. So Ghanaians to be expecting a medal for me. You know, I'll go there and put up my best and come back. Come back with good.
Now let's talk about Ghana Premier League stories. And the just ended Ghana Premier League did not have a sponsor, and clubs were struggling. That is according to the owner and bankroller of King Faisal Babies, Alhaji Abdul Karim Grusa. He has been speaking about some of the challenges they encountered and the questions people have raised about how he manages his club. At the end, he called on the Ghana Football Association to ensure that next season there will be some sort of sponsorship for clubs.
But it's a shame to Ghana football for you to do kind of these things. If you do it, you should do it on the professional way, not like they did it to me. People are talking. I didn't see the match, but I'm not happy. But inshallah, we are going to talk about it.
How excited were you about Kwame Prepra? Kwame Prepra was one of the fire guys who scored a lot of goals for you. How excited were you for him?
Inshallah, I'm praying for Kwame Prepra to get foreign contract, good team, for him to benefit, and the club also should benefit. That is my prayer for him.
Okay, so if there are good offers for Kwame Prepra, you let him go before next season?
Inshallah. Whether local or international, we are ready.
Okay, another thing in the season that we saw, Alhaji, was that you had to change coaches. Was it because they were not really doing what you expected them to do?
Yes, changing the coach. If the coach is doing good, then why you are changing him? Why you are changing him? And the Serbian coach is doing his best. We score, he scores. If we score 3, he scores 4. If we score 2, he scores 3. Every match we are scoring and we are losing. And we have to give him a chance to go.
Right. What do you, Alhaji, what do you have to say to people who don't quite understand the way you run your football?
They should learn football. I have 50-something years experience in football. More than that. I was 16-year-old. I started the coach team.
Wow, 16?
16, that is Bolopa.
Wow.
And then the Aston Village and Cornish Babies. Before we come as the Olympic Babies, then we changed the name to King Faisal Babies. And now we are where we are now.
Wow. So that is good. But generally, you know, you spoke about issues with money. And so I'm sure you are looking out for corporate bodies to come and help you. But that the Ghana Football Association did not get you a sponsor, you know, a cash sponsor, how worrying is that?
Well, it's worrying us too much. They should do their best this league. We shouldn't play without sponsor. How we are living in football, playing football without sponsor. As I don't know, we Ghanaians clubs, maybe some of them have money, but some of us, we are begging people and we are working, but all the football are chopping our money.
Alhaji Karim Grusa there, speaking on a plethora of issues in relation to his club, King Faisal, and generally Ghana Football as he seeks to call on the Ghana Football Association to ensure their sponsorship for clubs next season. Let's continue to do stories that has to do with Ghana Premier League. And this time around, we are going to Soga Kope, where Wafa is based. Their head coach is Prosper Nate Ogum, and he's been speaking about how excited the team was for placing third in the just ended Ghana Premier League season.
I feel good myself and the team, the entire team, the board, the management, especially the players, looking at how we started somewhere along the line. We had to lose the likes of Daniel Umuti, Amankwa Forcing, Daniel and Co. And then we were also hit with a couple of injuries where we had to now be playing players out of position. So it was actually hectic, especially in the first round. But then the second round, we were able to bounce back through determination, hard work, and then we were able to make it. So I'm particularly excited because if you look at this very team, it's not that talented like the team of 2016 that qualified from Division 1 to Premier and had to stay for 2 years. That's Majid and Co. But then if you look at this team, I think it's the desire to achieve that has actually taken us to where we are. So I would say I'm happy, the players are happy, the board is happy, management, our fans, supporters, everybody's happy. So that's it.
Lawyers of the Member of Parliament for Asin North, Joe Jache, have withdrawn an application to invoke the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for the court to interpret certain constitutional provisions. The MP's lawyer, Justin Poivra Teriwaja, had tried without success to get the Cape Coast High Court hearing the election petition involving the MP to refer Article 94, Clause 2A of the 1992 Constitution to the Supreme Court for interpretation. The 5-member court, presided over by Justice Apau, struck out the application after the MP's lawyers had withdrawn it. The judges explained to the lawyer that he should have formally applied to the High Court to refer the said constitutional provision to the Supreme Court for interpretation, and if the judge had refused, then there would have been sufficient grounds to refer same to the Supreme Court. An amount of 5,000 cedis was awarded against the MP as cost. Meanwhile, the Cape Coast High Court is expected to deliver its ruling in respect of the election petition, which have at the center the matter of alleged dual citizenship of the Asin North MP on Wednesday, 28th of July.
And this is what happened yesterday at the Supreme Court, but as we know, there's some fresh document that's been filed at the Supreme Court. Joseph Akable was explaining a bit of that when we did the review a bit earlier. There's the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court that's been invoked to do some interpretation. But he explains that we do not know when that will be heard because of the vacation that the judiciary takes around this period. But we'll try and, when we raise our lawyer on the line, to see if there's been some development on that. But as you're aware, the schedule for the dates for the ruling in that petition, that parliamentary petition around the Asin North Member of Parliament, that is expected today. But would it even happen, considering that we know there's an application before the Supreme Court seeking to interpret what originally the petitioner was looking at doing? We'll try and get some answers and a bit more clarity on the subject. But this all may possibly have some implications on Parliament. As you know, it's a very divided Parliament that we have now. But for one independent candidate who chose to sit on the NPP side, we would not even have a majority as we have it now. Dr. Rashid Rahman is a man who's been following a lot of parliamentary works, not only in Ghana, but but on the continent and elsewhere. He's joined us for a conversation. He's the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. A very good morning to you, Dr. Rashid Rahman.
Good morning, Mama V.
How much of the court processes have you been following? At least we have two that seem to be nearing getting to some kind of conclusion. Jomoro and the Asin North Member of Parliament. What do you make of the new developments?
Well, it's very interesting, Mama V. I've been following the court proceedings very, very carefully because I know the outcome would have a very significant impact on the balance of power in the 8th Parliament. And I mean, I can't predict what is going to happen, but I mean, at the end of it all, if the kind of developments that we are seeing is anything to go by, I am predicting that maybe the case might end up the disadvantage of the NDC, and then we will live with some serious consequences. I mean, the NDC will live with some serious consequences because then we are going to have some clarity. Because right now there's a lot of argument, even as early as yesterday when we had an event in Parliament. There was an argument about whether the NDC has the majority or not. And I guess once these court cases are settled, we are going to have some clarity.
Just before you move on, is that an issue whether or not the NPP has majority? Haven't we crossed that line? I mean, we can't reverse the things that we've done, can we?
Well, we cannot. But yesterday we had an event in Parliament where the majority leader said, and I quote him, he said that the Right Honourable Speaker, I think in one of the proceedings in Parliament, referred to him and Honourable Aruna Idrisu as co-chair. And then he said that this was only in the imagination of the Right Honourable Speaker because he didn't know where that came from. And that if even the MPP has a half personal advantage, it was still a majority party in Parliament. So it looks like the debate is not over yet. And I think if we get to a point where these court cases are settled, and particularly if it goes in favor of the MPP, then perhaps that might settle the matter.
Okay. Well, as we wait to hear from the court, we just want to do some analysis, and I want to ask if it goes for the NPP. I mean, if it goes, I mean, the worst is we have to get a rerun. So even at that point, we will not know where the seat will go to. So for a while, we still would have a gap. But I'm just asking, if it goes in favor of the NPP, we can't reverse the election of the speaker. It's already done, right?
Yes, no, we cannot reverse the election of the speaker. You know, electing a speaker is much easier than removing a speaker. For the election of a speaker, you need a simple majority. But if a speaker, for any reason, will have to be removed from office, you need a two-thirds majority. And right now, I think given the balance that we have in the House, it will require about 200 and something members voting to reverse the decision of January 7th. And I don't know whether either side can have that number. Particularly, I think in this case, it will be the MPP that would be trying to take such a step. And I don't know if they can muster the 206 that will be required to reverse that decision.
What happened again in line? And let me welcome to the conversation our lawyer. No, not Dr. Rashid Draman, but we've got a lawyer joining us in a bit. But Dr. Draman, just on this same line of thoughts, the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, he's the man who chose to sit with the NPP. Reason they have a majority party in Parliament. What will become of him?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So my question is the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament who chose to sit and go with the NPP. Reason NPP has one difference. I'm asking what will become of him. Again, along the same line of if this goes in favor of the NPP party.
I'm not too sure about maybe the changing the deputy speakers. I have to double check on that. But what it would mean is that, you know, in the event that these court cases are finalized, and I mean, hypothetically it goes in the favor of the NPP, there is going to be, if you like, a lot of constitutional issues that would need to be settled. And that is why, right from the beginning, most of us have been calling for some consensus and some compromise so that we avoid a situation where we end up in a gridlock in Parliament that would cripple the work of the legislature for a very long time. I've seen this happen in many parliaments where, you know, as a result of carpet crossing and so on, all of a sudden one party loses its majority, and then the processes drag on in court to the extent that the parliament is paralyzed. We want to avoid this, and the only way to avoid this is if there is some compromise, because if we know, for instance, as I said it earlier, we cannot have, I mean, one party cannot have the two-thirds majority to remove the speaker or, I mean, to change, I mean, certain decisions. But maybe for the sake of trying to cripple the other side, some attempts are being made. It is just going to stifle the work of the legislature, and then we get into some kind of crisis that could drag on for some time.
Okay. Let me say good morning to Christian Mam Hesse. He's a lawyer. He's joined this conversation. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Great. So we've been reporting that the High Court is expected to rule in this matter of the Asin North Member of Parliament because of the petition, you know, sent to that court. But yesterday there was also some process filed before the Supreme Court invoking its original jurisdiction to interpret, and I want to read it to you, what this petitioner, this plaintiff is seeking before the Supreme Court. Is a declaration that on the true and proper interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, a determination of a person owing allegiance to a country other than Ghana, such as disqualifies such a person from being a member of Parliament in Ghana, involves consideration of the law of the country other than Ghana to which it is claimed the person owes allegiance. The second one is a declaration that on the true and proper interpretation of Article 94(2)(a) of the Constitution, a person who owed allegiance to a country other than Ghana but has taken positive steps under the law of that other country to renounce the allegiance or citizenship of that country does not fall within the scope and meaning of a person who owes allegiance to another country other than Ghana, as expressed in the same article. The third one is for the courts to again interpret the same article. The issue of owing allegiance to a country other than Ghana requires evidence of acts of allegiance by the person to a country other than Ghana, such as to disqualify the person from being a member of parliament. I think there are 3 more, but we can end here because it's the same matter that the petitioner in the High Court sought to do at the Supreme Court, which was struck out yesterday. But my question is, in view of the fact that this process has been filed, will the High Court be minded so that it would hold on its ruling today?
No, its ruling would come off.
Okay. All right. So, because I asked that because in the instance where they had gone to the Supreme Courts, the judge decided to hold on and hear from the Supreme Courts before it goes ahead with the ruling. So I was just checking if because this action was initiated yesterday, the judge would still say, okay, somebody else has gone on this same matter, so let me hold on. Or this has nothing to do with the matter in Cape Coast.
Circumstances where it is a preference mostly of the courts, especially where the matter filed at the Supreme Court would have a derivative nexus on proceedings at the lower court. In that situation, the court would mind itself to stay proceedings and await the outcome of the proceedings from the Supreme Court. But where the coordinate jurisdictions are parallel and have no direct bearing on what the lower court, albeit the High Court, would do, the court could progress to give its consequential ruling.
Let's talk about the consequences, possible consequences of this ruling, and I'll leave it to you to digest it.
I mean, yes, definitely. The ruling of the courts would have an impact on the political landscape, especially what would also happen in Parliament. It is a matter that borders on dual citizenship, but the important thing for us to look at is whether or not the said MP renounced his citizenship before he got himself to the polls, and particularly whether or not where a person conducts himself in the manner that is required by the rules of the land to give off all duties or obligations required of him under the law, to renounce his other citizenship from another sovereign nation before he gets to the polls, and whether he gets his certificate before the polls. But what I'm basically trying to say is that if one takes preparatory steps to give off whatever obligations is required of him to renounce his certificate, the point is that, did he do that by perfecting an imperfect gift? Did he do that by transferring all those obligations to a third-party institution, and whether or not the third-party institution reverted back to him with his certificate of renunciation? Now, if he was able to renounce, if they themselves in court had proven and discharged the burden that, yes, he renounced his certificate before going to the polls, it could be a tentative legal point for the balance of justice to tilt in his favor, where the court comes in considering equities in trust and looking at perfection and imperfect gifts, especially with a donee and donor of such power. But where the court is minded that it would not consider such equitable principles under trust, then we could see the matter going against the said MP.
Dr. Draman, if you can hear me, we've had a situation before in the fifth Parliament, I think, with Adamu Dramani Sakinde. I want you to refresh our memories in terms of the significance of what happened to him in that Parliament.
Well, I mean, what happened to him, I think that was the sixth Parliament. What happened to him was that, he had dual citizenship, Ghanaian and British, and he didn't renounce the British citizenship before he got elected as a member of Parliament. And I think a cattle farmer in his constituency took the matter to court, and then eventually he was jailed. Regrettably, I think he recently passed. May he so rest in peace. So that really, set the precedent in terms of what we are going through currently. But for me, Mohammed, I think I've had occasion to say this, I think on your platform as well as at the platform, that this law is cake. I think if there is going to be any constitutional revision in our republic, this is one of the clauses that I think should be revised. Because look, on the one hand, when we are counting our GDP and we are counting our resources, we pay tribute to the contribution that the diaspora makes economically. But when it comes to political contribution, we turn around and say, no, these people cannot. You go to other jurisdictions, you can hold, 5, 10 citizenships. Nobody can. In Canada, for instance, recently, even the leader of the opposition had dual U.S.-Canadian citizenship. And I know a lot of Africans, when I lived in Canada, a lot of Africans who went to Canada still holding on to their African nationality, their country nationality, ended up being members of Parliament and so on. I think we just need to strengthen our institutions and strengthen the processes that would perhaps prevent any abuse of any kind of power that a member of Parliament has, and so on, when he or she holds allegiance to other kind of nationality. Otherwise, really, I don't see, the benefit of this. It blocks a lot of good people who want to be part of the political process from doing so.
Christian Mam Hesse, I want to come to you now. It's interesting, isn't it, that nobody has before, well, at least until this issue came up and yesterday, nobody thought that we needed some interpretation of this particular provision, which stops persons who owe allegiance to other countries from being, standing as a member of Parliament.
Hello, I would want to add my voice to what Doc said.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's interesting that nobody tried to get some clarity. It looks like it's always been clear. Nobody thought that there was the need to get interpretation of this particular provision.
Oh, invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, it goes without saying, once you could link the nexus to constitutional provisions and seek interpretation, those are the two ambits that the court would entertain you. But the more interesting thing is that the jurisprudence behind the dual citizenship.
Okay, we seem to have some network challenges.
It goes to all citizens, particularly where one is seeking to become a member of Parliament. You cannot owe allegiance to another country. Purpose is for security reasons, and especially because of the history that we have had. The framers of the Constitution deemed it that you could not owe allegiance to other country where you have distracted citizenship, or for want of better word, your internal mind is connected to two countries. And when that situation happens, it will not augur for the sovereignty of the state. state, and that is why this has become a qualification for members of parliament. And more interestingly, if you look at the other parliamentarian who Doc also referred to, his situation is quite different from this particular situation that we have. The legal issues that existed at the time was that was whether or not he renounced his citizenship. And importantly, he did not, but he lied. He lied and he was charged with perjury. And culminating with all of that, that is why he ended up in jail. And we know perjury is a quasi criminal matter. So those were the important things that existed in that particular matter. But the case that we have currently before us is where the said MP had taken steps to renounce his citizenship, and that the renunciation process at the time was not within his ambit to determine, but was within the ambit of a third-party institution to issue him with a certificate. So now the question, as I mentioned, which is before the court, is to determine whether where one party going into such a national poll, particularly for an MP position, having renounced his position, having done all that is expected of him to be done as required by law, and awaiting his certificate from that third-party institution, is still eligible to stand for elections. And that would be a question for the court to answer.
All right, I guess we wait to hear that answer. We're all interested in knowing the answer. In the meantime, though, just a bit of education. What happens to what has been filed at the Supreme Court for interpretation?
Yeah, definitely. The court would go on to make its determination of it, because the Supreme Court is faced with all the inherent jurisdiction to hear that matter.
Dr. Draman, okay, no, just one point to clarify. Could this, depending on where it goes, and I'm not by this question determining that it's going to go a certain way in particular, could there be possible criminal procedures that will follow? Could the police pick up from where the courts will leave it? Christian Mamhesi, this is for you.
Yes, I mean, where there is no criminality involved, the police will not even come in. And the criminal matter comes in where one has committed the offense of perjury. You understand? And that is a matter to be determined by the court. And the police will not come in as of now. Okay. It's a matter to be determined by the court. And just as I explained, the peculiar circumstances of this case is determinable based upon whether or not the said MP was able to renounce his citizenship, albeit the other one, before he went to national polls, before the rate of elections was issued. That is the most important critical point that the court would put a lot of emphasis on in coming to conclusion in the matter.
All right. Dr. Dramani, you wanted to say something?
No, I mean, I'm just also getting some legal education.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly, I mean, in this case, I think the big question and the big difference that the legal person has explained is that, I mean, the two MPs are indicating that they renounced their citizenship. And now the issue is, whether at the time of filing to contest they had their certificate of pronunciation or not. And that's actually the difference between this case and the other one. I mean, this case and the other one where there was clearly no renunciation, but I mean, the MP did not tell the truth at the time.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, Christian Mamhesi. Dr. Rashid, just a final one with you. We have one pending. You just added it to it. There's the Jomoro one. what happens when an MP is in this legal battle? How useful are they to Parliament at this point?
What happens? What?
How useful are they to Parliament? So how useful are they to Parliament, particularly at this time when they have their own legal battles ongoing?
Well, I mean, the thing is that, I mean, I believe you try to put up a brave face and try to do their work as members of Parliament, but this will be a lingering worry, I mean, for them until the case is determined. I'm not too sure that they are happy and free-minded MPs at this moment as their other colleagues are.
All right.
And, well, I just hope that this matter is determined as these matters in court are determined as quickly as possible, so that at least we can put it behind us. Because sometimes the wheel of justice winds very slowly in our country, and we don't want this to drag on until the end of this 8th Parliament.
Absolutely. Dr. Draman, I have a feeling that we will speak some more tomorrow, depending on how the case goes today. So talk to you soon, I guess. Dr. Rashid Draman is Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. At this point, there's a limitation on what we can say and what we can analyze. But I guess when the voice of the court is heard today, we can do a lot more analysis, but there will certainly be implications. Stay with us. We have our next conversation to come later on. Joe Metal is live here on the AM show. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. So the Solidaridad reclaims sustainability is on the assumption that if we strengthen civil society, increase and maintain civic space, as well as apply a gender and social inclusion approach, it will alleviate the poverty of farmers and workers. I hope that I'm getting your attention, at least with my introduction. My guest is Rosemary Adiko. She's Program Manager, Oil Palm, Solidaridad, West Africa, and Yao Brichum, Program Manager, Gold, Solidaridad, West Africa. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
First of all, you have to explain what this project is about to me. So let's start with you.
Okay. So why reclaim sustainability? The issue is now civic space is shrinking all over the world. And we know that without civil society, there's nobody who will check public sector. So for us, we believe that once we expand the civic space and then build the capacity of civil society, then the voices of the voiceless will be heard, and then decisions that affect them, they'll be part of the decision-making process. That's why we are really implementing this program.
Before you add on, why gold?
Gold is looking at the small-scale mining sector.
Oh, okay.
Yes, specifically.
Okay. And what is yours focus on?
Oil palm. So we are focused on oil palm, gold, and then cocoa.
Okay. Yeah. All right, great. So any build-up to what the objective of the project is?
Yes. So as an organization, we usually adopt a holistic approach to addressing issues within a particular commodity space. So we have what we call medium, the MASP, which is a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan for the organization. So we do that every 5 years. And within that plan, we have different areas that we look at. The first is looking at producers generally. Then how do you support producers to practice or to ensure good practices when they are producing? And the second aspect of the MASP, which is also looking at enabling policy environment, So the reclaim sustainability is looking at the enabling policy environment of the MASP. Then we also have the third looking at supportive business ecosystems. How do you support service providers, for instance, to support farmers, miners, etc.
Okay.
Then lastly, we're looking at market uptake because we want to address the issues holistically, looking at the supply chain. So it's starting from the producers and ending at the market aspect of it.
Okay. So what's the plan in terms of the timelines? How long do you intend this program?
It's a 5-year program. We're starting this year, and then it will end in 2025.
Okay. So where specifically are we now?
Okay, so we have identified the issues, we have identified our stakeholders, and so we want to launch this program on Friday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. at AH Hotel, to also be on a live stream at our Facebook page. And so we just want people to really understand what we are trying to do.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about partnerships now, because you've got partners. Who are they?
So the program generally is looking at the oil palm sector, the cocoa sector, and also the small-scale mining sector. So we do have key stakeholders or partners within these spaces. So then in the oil palm sector, for instance, we have what we call the OPDAC, which is the Association of the Oil Palm Farmers. And also we have cocoa associations, we have gold associations. We also have relevant governmental institutions that we've partnered with, like the Minerals Commission, the Ghana Cocoa Board, etc. So these are some of the organizations that we work with.
Okay. Any other civil organizations that you're hoping to collaborate with locally?
So for us, we work with CSOs depending on the issue we really want to address. So, for example, for oil palm, we are looking at land issues. So definitely we have to engage the community, just engage the chiefs, land administration, and all those who are involved in land-related issues, so that at least we solve the problem once and for all.
Okay. I'm just thinking that this reclaim project, especially with the small-scale mining, is very timely at this very point. How important is it for farmers to get involved with this project?
Okay, so the idea for the reclaim sustainability is to really empower people to voice out their concerns. So it's looking at building the capacity of CSOs and also making the voices of producers heard, so that at least we can understand what their issues are and try to come out with solutions to address their issues. I guess you are aware of the various challenges being faced by the small-scale mining sector currently. So how do we involve the miners in taking decisions to address issues in the sector?
Okay.
So this.
Okay.
So let me just give one example. The major challenge to do with the sector is with illegal mining, as you are aware. So how do we then formalize the activities of miners? Because there's been studies have proved that before you can regulate a particular sector, you need to formalize the activities. So how then do we formalize that? How are we then able to give them licenses to operate? So at least you can regulate the activities as well.
Okay. So we've heard a bit about the gold. Can we zero in on cocoa? What specifically the plan is?
Okay, so cocoa, we want to look at unfair distribution. You're looking at unfair distribution. You're looking at
are you looking at pricing?
Yes. So the issue has been, for cocoa farmers, what they receive is so small. So only around 3 to 5% of the price of the world market price. So what we want to do is we want to empower their voices. We want to empower producers to be able to be part of the decision-making process. They want to be able to negotiate. So if you are setting prices, farmers should be part of the negotiating table. For decisions that's really affecting them. Yes, because we keep saying, yes, living income, whatever, but I don't think we have engaged them enough. So we want to empower them so that when it's time for engagement, they should be able to also provide input to them.
Why do I feel that because of where you're coming from, because you're not necessarily governmental, it will be easy for them to open up and speak to you? I'm just thinking. But I also want to ask the question of, you've told us this is a 5-year plan. So at the end of 5 years, have we started the counting the 5 years though?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we started.
Okay. All right. So what do we hope to achieve at the end of the 5 years?
Well, we believe that by the end of this project, relevant CSOs and the all the 3 sectors we are working in are empowered enough to be part of the decision-making process. Decisions that really affect them, they should be part of the decision-making process. We want to see the civic space expanding so that civil society can also put government on track if things are not really happening the way we just want to make sure agric is profitable. That's the only place where you can you can work, relax, and enjoy your money. You know, no taxes, you know. So and I tell you, I mean, Agric is where we can employ so many people in the sector. I mean, we are talking about labor, unemployment, but I tell you, we go to the farming communities, labor is an issue. How then do we balance unemployment and then labor unavailability in the growing community? So that's why we are doing it. We just want to make sure everybody has a voice.
Okay. Talking about everybody having a voice and engaging other people, there certainly will be challenges. So what have you envisaged will be the hurdles that you have to cross?
Mainly to do with government policy, because, of course, this is more of a policy influencing project, where we build the capacity of CSOs and also civil society, and people or producers, etc., to influence policy through a number of actions that's under the project. So then the idea is once we are able to build their capacity, they should then be able to influence policy through the private sector and also government. You know, so if government, for instance, is not interested, then that's going to be very challenging for us. And if the private sector also is not too interested, that's also going to be very challenging for us. So because it's about addressing their challenges using this particular route of the influencing policy.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the plan to make them interested?
Okay, so as part of the project, we are not just building the capacity of the CSOs and also trying to make the voices heard, the voice of producers heard, but we're also going to engage with policymakers as well. Okay. You know, so like the Minerals Commission, the Cocoa Board, etc., we're going to engage with them for them to understand some of these sustainability issues holistically, so to ensure inclusive sustainability for the various supply chains that we're working in.
Okay, so just finally, for those who are following the conversation, this is coming up on Friday. Yes. Are they welcome to be there, or this is strictly by invitation?
Oh, because of COVID protocols, it's strictly by invitation. But there's a link on our Facebook that they can really join live stream. Yes.
Okay. And what should be the expectation for this whole conversation of reclaim sustainability?
So the expectation is that it's a process that will lead to addressing challenges within the various sectors. So at the end of the day, we are not looking at, usually, we're not looking at the processes, but we're looking at the results that will come out of the process that we're going to go through. Okay. As I mentioned, it's policy influencing. So if government, for instance, in the small-scale mining sector, for instance, the major issues to do with implementation of policies. You know, we have lots of policies. Ghana is seen as one of the best countries that has, one of the countries that has the best ASM policies. But the issue currently is to do with its implementation. How do we implement the policies to ensure that the miners benefit from that?
Yeah. Okay, that's crucial. Yeah. Well, we wish you well with Friday's events. It's coming up at the Alisa Hotel, but as you've said,
AH Hotel.
AH Hotel in East Lagos. Yes. But you're not expecting us to show up. We can just follow the procedures.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess we can leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.
All right, coming up next, we're talking about the Ability Fair here on the show. And I mentioned way earlier that former Gender Minister Otiko Afisa-Jabba is on our show. She's been promoting issues surrounding disabilities, and this is one to open up more opportunities for persons in this area. Let's see how you can support her. That's coming up next. All right, so let's talk about the Disability Fair. And my guest is the Executive Director of Otiko Afisa-Jabba, Executive Director of Henry Jabba Foundation. There's a history to that, but today we're talking about the fair. Good morning.
Good morning, Mama B. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I mean, it's interesting, a bit unbelievable that you followed this passion of being the voice for persons with disability. And here we are today with this fair that's coming up. So tell us about how the journey has been with issues with disabilities.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would like to say a good morning to your viewers. And then to all persons with disability, I say Munio. You know, it's not easy to be even any human being. The challenges, the stresses. And so when you are a person with disability, it's double or triple or quadruple jeopardy. And so there is a huge gap in the fulfillment of their rights. And as a former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, I got to understand better, because the National Council for Persons with Disability was under the Ministry of Gender. And it gave me a huge understanding of the gaps in terms of their human rights and the fulfillment. And then, of course, you know that my father also died of stroke, which turned him into a person with disability. My former husband is also suffering from a stroke, and he also needs support because there are things that he can no longer do as he used to do. And that is where my passion comes from. And so we are organizing different things at the Henry Jaba Memorial Foundation to give persons with disability a chance to close the gap, to let them feel that they are human beings, and let the Ghanaian society appreciate that. Every one of us is just one step away from being a person with disability. And look, Mama V, if you live long enough, you will be a person with disability. The older you get, it doesn't matter who you are. You will get up one day and your knees go, your eyes go, your teeth fall out, your hair falls out. You know, you can no longer see as you used to. You can no longer hold things as you used to. Walking becomes a problem. It's the cycle of life. And at that point, you would wish that you had done things better in terms of policy, in terms of advocacy, to ensure that the right things are done for persons with disability. Yeah. And that's what the Henry Jaba Memorial Foundation is about.
Great. I know you've had series of programs leading to the fair. So what would this fair do exactly? What would we witness?
I'm so excited about it. It's the first of its kind. You know, we have the trade fair where everybody is there, mixed bunch. But this one is specifically for the exhibitors to be persons with disability. If you're not a person with disability, you cannot come to exhibit there. So that is the requirement. Any form of disability, whether it is sight or hearing or what's the other one? Albinism, physical disability, dwarfism, whatever type of disability you have, it gives you that special room to come. And it's a platform for persons with disability to exhibit their products, their goods, their services, their talents. So we are not only showing the products like clothing, leatherworks, beadworks, food, drinks, whatever it is that you are making or selling. And we have companies that will come with assistive devices, prosthetics, whether the leg or the hand.
Okay.
They are all going to come there to exhibit. There are about 35 registered exhibitors. Because of the COVID, you can't have huge numbers. And so we are limiting it to the 35.
So are you done with exhibitors? You don't need any more exhibitors?
Currently, unless somebody pulls out, we don't need any more exhibitors. But everybody can attend. And because it's from 9 to 4, you don't come all at once. You can come at different times because we have to observe the COVID protocols. And everybody must come with a mask. And we'll have the sanitizer chamber, washing of hands, and all the other things, social distancing to be practiced. We are organizing health screening because, you know, health is life. And persons with disability have bigger issues with their health because of their condition. And so they'll be checking the sugar levels. Lancet Laboratories will help us with hepatitis B. Kolebu Teaching Hospital will help us with the other things, the blood pressure, the weight, and all those kind of things. And then another side attraction is for children to have a food eating competition.
Okay.
Yes, we have invited schools like Jolu Special School, Ikropon School for the Blind, Mampon School for the Deaf. So the eating competition is going to be amongst them.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see who can eat the most balls of kenke. And then fun and games like tug of war. But the serious thing is about creating opportunities for persons with disability to be able to enhance and enrichen their lives. That is what the fair is going to be about.
Okay, so I guess this is not going to be a one-off fair.
No, this is the first. Beyond that, there are people calling from the north, from Western region, Volta, everywhere. So we intend that it will rotate.
Okay, so you go to the other regions?
We'll go to the other regions, and we'll even talk to the district assemblies. Why? They can organize similar things at the district level. Because the distance even within one region, see where Ashama is, or see where Kaswa is, to come all the way to Accra, it's a distance, let alone from a region like the north, coming to Accra. And so within each region, the district assemblies, I would really plead with them to organize similar things. You see, when it is the huge affair of, let's say, the trade fair, it's difficult to see the persons with disability.
Absolutely.
So this is shining the spotlight on persons with disability for our world to appreciate their ability and capabilities, and that they are capable of doing anything that a person who considers themselves able can do. To be honest, I think that every one of us has a disability. It's just that most of us, you can't see ours. And so we hide them. You see where my glasses are. If I have to read this paper, I need to use my glasses. So I have a sight impairment. A lot of people have issues, but they pretend that they don't. Because you can see that maybe somebody has an amputation, or that they have issues with their leg, they are in a wheelchair or holding crutches. So you think that maybe they are not able. Disability does not affect the mind of the person. It is the mobility of the person. And once they have assistive devices, they're able to do anything that anybody... And look, they're so brilliant and intelligent. It's incredible. I'm very, very privileged to have this opportunity to work with them. And it gives me a better understanding of their challenges. And I really want to use this opportunity to appreciate all persons with disability. When the lights go off, I start hitting my legs and my head because I can't see. But persons with sight impairment have been blind for life, or from whenever they had the problems. When I'm climbing the stairs and my knees are giving, then I think about how people who use crutches have to go up the stairs, and our system is not accessible. There's so many challenges. They're really doing a yeoman's job to live in this country of ours. Look at rural Ghana.
Yeah.
You see. Yeah. So the challenges of persons with disability are huge, but they are able to turn things around. All they need is a hands up.
Yeah.
This issue of giving hands out and always receiving, begging on the street must stop. The Henry Jabba Memorial Foundation went into partnership with Maslock. We were able to organize funding for about 148 members of the group.
Okay.
And they were given 2,000, some were given 3,000. Usually Maslock gives 1,000 within groups. But because of the arrangement, they were given 2,000, 3,000 each. Some of them have utilized the money so well, and they've either started businesses or expanded their businesses.
Okay.
Others are struggling to pay, and we are educating them that your disability is not an excuse to shirk your responsibilities. And so there is so much that needs to be done, and the potential to do. If there be somebody on the street walks into Maslock and says that I need a loan, they might not be considered. Yeah. And so we had to guarantee it for them. Well, and I'm praying that other organizations will come there and see that potential. And like your clothes, you can ask them to design them for you.
Yeah. I will come to the fair, certainly. So this is Friday and Saturday.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just
venue?
This Friday, 30th and 31st. The venue is Mikado Pharmacy, the forecourt, former Karma Conference Center at Osu, on the way to Labadi.
Okay.
So if you take a trotro, you can tell the man that you're going to Labadi and drop off at the Mikado Pharmacy.
Okay.
You don't need to use a lot of funds for transportation.
Great.
And attendance is free.
Okay. All right. And anything you see that you can buy? You
can buy, you can order, you can connect with other people. Even if you don't buy today, let's say you're having an outdooring or a funeral or wedding, you can ask the person to supply the goods.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to say was that, like Ministry of Education, they sew uniforms, huge numbers of schools. Why can't they give a quota to persons with disability to give sew these uniforms? The nurses, the doctors' coats, the army, anywhere that they use uniforms.
Yeah.
you can ask them to.
You're driving this change, so maybe we should put the pressure on you to lead this course, and we can all come behind you and do this. But yeah,
this is a social contract that you would help me to get it done.
Absolutely. I want to personally come to the fair.
Please do.
And see what I can record for our viewers. Those
I
who
would
not
love
be
that.
Able to come,
I would
so
love
that we
that.
can extend the conversation and also talk to some of the people. But thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For moving away from public service, but you haven't stopped public service, really.
I've moved away from politics.
From politics.
Yes.
Yeah. But so thank you. Thank you so much. And we're waiting for that interview, that one interview that my viewers are waiting for. So Madam Otiko Jaba is semi-promising us of that interview. Wait for it. It's going to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Because we want to know what you do with yourself. If you're
this is what I do.
If you're not talking disability.
Most of my life, I've decided to dedicate it to disability, and you know, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bite more than I can chew. And disability is huge on its own.
It's true.
But there are other people who are also doing things like the Ghana Federation for Persons with Disability. So many other groups, the unions, they're all involved.
I want to take a camera and follow you. So that's, you have to wait for that. Coming up next, though, we've got Joe Metal. If you started the show with us, then you know that I encourage all of us to just say that it is well and God is good. So he's coming to give you a reason to praise God, even if you think your situation is not one that you should praise God. Hallelujah, somebody. Coming up next. Hallelujah. Yes, stay with us.